Welcome to the Pleasure Points Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Rohr. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to bring you another installment of Win, Go, Speak. If you are new to the show, thanks for being here. This is something that I've been experimenting with, was like sort of opening up my consciousness or awareness to feeling free and channeling or being in the flow or whatever. All I can say is that the stuff that I write here is like, it doesn't feel like me, and they aren't necessarily, some of the things are thoughts that I've had, some I definitely have not had before. It feels like somebody else is in the room talking to me. I don't know the mechanisms behind that or what the sort of larger spiritual impact or consequences of, us having multi-dimensional abilities or like whatever the hell. But nonetheless, when I reread the stuff that came through, I find it to be very, very interesting, and you guys seem to like it, so I'm happy to continue to do it. So this might be actually my favorite one so far of the messages that have come through, the bluntness, the practicality of the message. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. It does require a little bit of setup in that they make reference to a Native American ceremony that I did called a Sundance. And what was really funny about it is that when it's hard to describe, but basically there's like a giant tree that gets erected in the arbor. And before the tree actually is like raised, there's an opportunity for dancers and the community to adorn the tree with prayer ties. Now, depending on where you are, there's a different, people have different ideas or suggestions of what color prayer ties, how many to do, and all of that. So, but what it looks like, so the prayer ties are like, they're like little, maybe 1.5 by 1.5 squares of fabric that are filled with tobacco. And so the person making the prayer ties is putting their energy, putting their prayers into the tobacco, then they wrap it up and tie it onto a string. And it's one long consecutive string holding all of the prayer ties. So the first year that I was doing a Sundance out on the reservation out in South Dakota, I was super nervous. You could just imagine, like, my teacher was there. I was like, I'm a white dude and I wanted to do well. Like, I was still just totally caught up in that overachieving, like, I want everything to be great and to be praised and adored and like all of that bullshit. So I was like very much in that space, and I had these prayer ties, and I think I did something like 350 prayer ties, which makes like a really long string. And like, there's just no good way to transport it. And, so oftentimes the prayer ties will become like a jumbled mess. So when it became time to put the prayer ties on the tree, it was an interesting experience because my prayer ties got all tangled up, and then I felt rushed, and it was like kind of tricky to put such a big amount of prayer ties onto this tree where there's the branches and the leaves and like all of the things still on the tree. And so there's like so many people that are all trying to do the same thing. So I got really flustered. Like really flustered, and I was starting to rush, and it was just a total mess. So much so that like, instead of it being like elegantly wrapped around, like, like someone who's like really good at like wrapping Christmas presents or something, it was as if I had like crumbled up a bunch of like balls of paper and just duct taped it around. But it was these prayer ties, so it was the cloth and the fabric and the string. And so what happened is that rather than it being like perfectly symmetrical, it was just like this giant mass of prayer ties, and I would try to spin it around the tree, and then like I was doing everything that I could so that hopefully it wouldn't fall. And so then eventually, like the tree we raise the tree up. And as the tree goes up, I look up and I'm watching my prayer ties. And as soon as it gets like the tree gets totally vertical and slides into the ground and is completely upright, I see like this giant matted mass of prayer ties that are mine. And they just like drop like 1.5 feet on the tree. I was terrified that these prayer ties were going to hit the ground because I didn't know if there was like a taboo against it. There's all these, oftentimes there's like these rules and things about, feathers dropping and hitting the floor. And there are great teachings there because it's like, this is how you're showing up in your life. How are you paying attention and all of that? And so I just saw this like giant mass of my prayer ties like start to fall, and they stayed up there. But then I had 4 days, or I got 4 days where we're dancing around this tree, and you're supposed to like look up at the tree and you look up the prayer ties. And so for 4 days, 4 very challenging days, I was like looking up and seeing my prayers that I had spent the previous year making just be like a total shit show on the top of the tree. So, let's fast forward to the next time that I Sundance, and I was just like, okay, I'm coming in super prepared. I came up with a different way to like pack the prayer ties and to put them on the string. And I was like, this year I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to be grounded. It's like, no problem. We're doing it. And sure as shit, the same thing happened. I don't know what it was. Like, I was like, everyone's doing the thing. And I was like, dude, be calm. It's okay. You've got time. You've done this before. You've been here. It's no big deal. And I'm like, trying to take my time, but I also like want to get it done. And I want it to like look pretty. I was like so focused on getting it to look good. It wasn't quite as bad as the first year, but it didn't look like anybody else's up there. Same thing with we finish it up, we put the tree up, and then I see like the jumbled mass of my prayer ties, and this time it only fell maybe, I don't know, like half a foot or something. But still, it was like you look at the tree and it's like other people's prayer ties are beautiful, and then mine are just like they're a mess. And I got to look at that for another 4 days. But this time, the second time, I was able to have a lot more fun with it. But in what I'm about to share with you of When Go Speak, they made reference to like just all of the chaotic feelings that arose for me when I was doing, trying to put those prayer ties up, and then subsequently like the fear and looking at it. Anyway, okay, so if you ever are going to Sundance, ask someone who's been there to help you with your prayer ties. All right, here we go. Expect things to break. It's what happens. You people spend so much time trying to cling on to the illusion of things never changing, and you completely miss the beautiful dynamic of breaking. Allow your sense of who you are to break. Let it dissolve. See what remains. Clinging to permanence means you miss the dance. Remember your prayers at Sundance? How frantic you became, how stressed, how embarrassed. Look at that. Look at how much energy you put into that. When you are imparting energy, so this is me now. So now they're shifting gears here to talk about like actually doing the healing work. And like, so if you're working on somebody or, doing some kind of like Reiki or energy work, or just like, trying to soothe somebody or help them, just to be there with somebody. Okay, here they go. They say, when you are imparting energy, consider 3 pulses. The first is a greeting. You are encountering their energy field. It's an introduction. It's warmth. It says, hello, I'm here. I see you. Their energy field will open up and show you the way in. The second healing pulse, you rearrange the energy of the space around the diseased area. You don't need to focus on the physical organ. You must speak to the space between the cells. You engage with that space and bring certainty of the possibility of perfect health. Bring the perfection of the moment and create the resonance that those cells and the space around them can entrain with. The second pulse is the invitation to their body, cells, organs to transform. The third pulse is the prayer of gratitude. You have gratitude for the moment, and you send a prayer of gratitude from inside their body. As you entrain this gratitude, see their body sending gratitude. A prayer without gratitude is pitiful and ineffective. It only entrains more desire, frustration, and fear. For many out there, their illness means that they have often forgotten gratitude. So if you are in a position to exchange energy, remember the 3 pulses: the greeting, the entrainment, the gratitude. There are more subtleties to be sure, but this is enough for now. Remember when we suggested the organs have their own humors? Entrain within the context of those humors. Don't expect the kidney to behave like the heart, nor expect the stomach to do what the intestines do. As you approach and understand each organ, you can modulate the energy around each organ accordingly. You see, the key to optimal flow is to know the temperament and optimize that. It's not about hoping that things are other than what they are doing. Do you look at a palm tree and approach it like a redwood? Do you see a shrub and expect it to have the same energy as a willow tree? They are packed with different humors. They have different medicines. They are nuanced. If someone is ever bored on your planet, they do not pay attention to subtleties. You keep saying you want practical advice. Is there anything? Now you get a sense of what my dialogue is like with them. You keep saying you want practical advice. Is there anything more practical than telling you where to put your attention? You shall see that where your attention goes, reality follows. How have you not fully accepted this? Do you think the tree is real, or that your feelings are real or even important? Your feelings are the least reliable things about you. It is your attention and the ability to shift your reality that is the grand experiment. The feelings just keep you easier to enslave, to distract, and to confuse. You want practical advice? Pay attention. Use your attention to create your reality. Every other facet of living is practically inconsequential to the power of your attention. You're so worried about the boy, Wyatt. It isn't about what he has or doesn't have. It is about how he spends his attention. What evidence does he accumulate? How does he see his world? Keep teaching him how to see and hear and how to act, and his feelings will follow. You got the message. Look first, then act, and then feel. Any other order is going to set you up for suffering. When you dive into the heart, are you attentive to the flow of blood? Are you attentive to the power of circulation, to the power of the beat? Are you attentive to the kindness that naturally flows from there? Or are you trying to project other sad stories onto the heart? You have a heartbeat. This is a miracle. Restore your attention to the miraculousness of this beat, the miracle of the process. Look at your heart, act on kindness, act on alignment, act on the reality that you are creating for yourself, and then feel yourself in that reality. You want the reality of Wyatt being healthy and happy and you guys having a great relationship. Do you really think it matters if he's in Italy or not? What matters is what you make matter. And we'll end it there for today. So that was the message. As always, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. I actually have forgotten that I was so caught up in the memory of my Sundance experience. I forgot that we were also going to be talking about healing. I absolutely love that 3-step process when it comes to sharing energy with people. You know, there's Reiki practitioners that are using symbols and, you know, they have their own training with it. But I love the simplicity of this. And I especially love like the importance of the introduction. I don't know what it is. I've been thinking about it. There's something about just like when we sort of arrive into a space, you know, kind of with the right intention or properly introduced, where we make a greeting that it seems to kind of change the experience there as opposed to just sort of being thrown into something. Maybe it's because things that tend to be chaotic tend to come without any sort of warning or introduction, earthquakes and tornadoes. Prayers out to anybody that is in Nashville after those tornadoes. And if you have family or friends that are there, talk about chaos happening without any introduction, right? Without any warning. And so there's something, especially when it comes to healing, of making an introduction. And what I like about it is that it helps us to be attuned to other people's space, right? So especially as someone who might be getting paid to work on somebody, it's so easy to have our own agenda take over. This is why I'm actually pretty picky with who works on me with massage, because in my experience, there's a lot of massage therapists, especially ones that are just beginning, where they want to be the person that gets rid of the knot. They want to be the reason why somebody's tight shoulders are dissipated. And so, they might miss some of the more subtle energies and signals that the body is sending because they're just so focused on getting their elbows into your traps to try to release that one feisty and stubborn knot, as opposed to recognizing that perhaps, working on the low back or releasing something in the calf might actually, help the shoulder to release. And so going in with that intention of just greeting, making that nice introduction. And then, of course, what they say with providing that entrainment. And then I loved that idea of sending gratitude, from the inside, right? If you're my old acupuncture teacher, one of them used to say, put your awareness at the tip of the needle. And, I'll think about that if I'm working on somebody where it's okay, I'm going to allow my energy to go inside of their body. And what might that experience be like? What might it look like? And so I really appreciated the message of, sending that prayer of gratitude from the inside of their body, even from the space around any of where the dis-ease might be. And so if you guys are healers, I know that there's people that are, in that position that listen to this. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Experiment with it. I've been experimenting with it. I remember after I got the message, I was doing some acupuncture on Jen and some healing work there, and she was like, "Whoa, this is a totally different thing." I didn't even tell her what had happened, when I'd gotten that download. So that was pretty cool. But it requires some intentionality. You can put your hands on people and then the rest of you can be thinking about all sorts of other things. But to do this kind of work or to share that moment with somebody in a very intentional way requires that focus and that commitment. So yeah, I think that's it. This is a good one to revisit, I think, and to re-listen to. And every time I reread some of this stuff, there's different things that come through. So I'd love to, as always, hear from you guys. You can hit me up here at pleasurepointspodcast@gmail.com. And I'll look forward to seeing you there. And I'll catch you next time. Have a good rest of your week. Cheers.